Last-ditch talks get underway, aimed at keeping the buses running. Today's poor road conditions claim an unusual victim. And the Supreme Court set to wade in on a controversial subject. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Negotiating teams for the city and the Amalgamated Transit Union have begun conciliated contract talks, and the next 48 hours could determine whether city buses will run on Monday morning. Negotiators from both sides began meeting in 2 local hotels today. They're trying to reach a deal over wages and avoid a possible job action by the 160 union members. ATU Local 966 President Sheila Cavisto expects the talks will continue into Saturday afternoon if need be. That deadline would give the public and the union members enough time to prepare if the 2 sides can't reach a deal. Drivers have been without a contract since 2012. They voted 99% in favor of job action, and Cavisto says she's feeling cautiously optimistic.
It could happen. We've got 2 days of talks. Don't know how long they're going to last, how long, what's going to happen during the time that we have together. The conciliator's here, and so we'll meet with him and see where it goes.
Cavisto says even if they have a concrete plan moving forward, it could change a number of times before Monday morning. Well, this latest snowfall has led to numerous accidents and road closures around the region. The highways near Dryden, Ignace, and Geraldton were all closed and reopened today due to vehicles sliding off the road. There was also a minor accident involving a school bus this morning at the corner of Golf Links and Oliver Roads. And a Thunder Bay man was rushed to hospital with serious injuries after he was struck by a vehicle while pushing his snowblower. OPP were called to the accident on Highway 61 near Riverdale Road just before the noon hour. The driver of the car was traveling northbound when she apparently lost control of the vehicle. The car spun and slid into a 71-year-old man who was snowblowing the area around his mailbox at the time. He was transported to hospital by ambulance with serious injuries. The driver was not injured and the car sustained extensive damage. The investigation is continuing. And with all the highway accidents happening around the region today, it was a fitting time for police to address safe driving. The OPP and Thunder Bay officers are working with the Highway Safety and Education Committee to get the word out to drive according to weather conditions. Phil Darlington has more.
Police in Thunder Bay have identified a need to better educate the public on the dangers of driving, and their key focus is on young drivers and commercial drivers.
Our G2 class drivers are young, new drivers, and we're going to be out to the schools and having a PowerPoint presentation. We're bringing the police officers into the classroom, we're bringing the insurance company into the classroom, and we're bringing the media into the classroom to promote safe driving.
The program is being funded by a grant from the Ministry of Transportation in the amount of $21,000. The program includes education about not just vehicle and road conditions, but biological factors as well.
Recognizing limitations, but also realizing that we all have different risk thresholds. We all realize that there are risks that's out there, and why do we do the things that we do, regardless of the fact that we know about these risks, and helping them understand how their brains, how their bodies work when they're behind the wheel and when they can recognize the limitations.
The police have been using billboards for years to get messages out, but they're looking for new avenues to inform motorists.
But we find that we are not getting the message to the people that we need to, which is the young drivers. And the young drivers are electronic savvy, so we have to also be innovative.
Young drivers are still being distracted by technology while driving, and it's because of this the police have decided the best way of informing the G2 drivers is through electronic media, just not while driving. The program will also get students to make public service announcements about safe driving, which could make it onto radio airwaves. Phil Darlington, TBT News.
The death toll from the H1N1 flu outbreak in the Thunder Bay area continues to grow. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit says it has claimed another victim, bringing the total of flu-related deaths in the region to 6. As well, there have now been 93 laboratory-confirmed cases of the flu, and the health unit continues to urge people to ensure they have received their flu shot. Well, it's long been a struggle to recruit healthcare professionals to work in remote communities. And it's not just a problem in Canada. Today, delegates from several Northern European countries came to Thunder Bay for a conference on that topic. The main topic of discussions revolved around ensuring that those who live in rural communities benefit from high-quality health care. Courtney Rutherford reports.
For undergrad students studying in the field of medicine, a number of factors come into play when it's time to decide where they will continue practicing upon graduation. Recruiting healthcare professionals for rural and remote communities is an ongoing challenge in many parts of the world. Dean of Northern Ontario School of Medicine, Dr. Roger Strasser, says one of the issues they face is dealing with the misconceptions that surround what it's like to work in the north.
This assumption in the big cities that anything that happens outside the big cities is somehow second class. By definition, therefore, in a rural community is substandard. And so that's not true, of course. If you look at the evidence, the research evidence shows that the quality of care and health outcomes is as good as anywhere in rural communities, but they don't know that in the cities.
The conference includes policymakers, educators, and healthcare professionals from across Europe and Canada. It's a chance to discuss the best practices that will ensure that people who live in these communities will continually benefit from high-quality healthcare.
We want feedback, we want people to comment on what we're doing, to see whether or not this is something which is of any interest to them, which is any value to them. But the other is we want to showcase what we've done. We want to be able to show people that this working, the way we're working, this transnational approach to doing things actually is a way to solve problems of this type.
The conference is part of the Recruit and Retain project that's funded by the European Union. It's expected to wrap up Friday evening. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
The bids are in for the former municipal golf course property on Highway 130. The city's Realty Services Division has received 4 expressions of interest from potential purchasers. City Council voted to close the 9-hole course last year, and yesterday was the deadline for potential bidders. No details about the expressions of interest can be disclosed, but Realty Services Manager Joel DePuter says a variety of users are being suggested. The 4 proposals will now be evaluated and shortlisted, and the property will be appraised. The city will also seek further details on each submission. DePuter says his department will then come back to City Council in about 3 months' time to seek approval for the recommended land sale. Making one of the city's main roadways clean, green, and beautiful was the focus of a public meeting last night. The waterfront image route runs from Cumberland to Simpson Streets. Consultants Brooke McElroy are developing a long-term vision to beautify the route and align their ideas with capital projects when they occur. Project manager Jessica Hawes says the focus of the plan includes celebrating the water.
So plant material that has more seasonal color, that brings variety and diversity to the streetscape, and then also looking for locations where people are currently challenged in terms of crossings, cycling, etc. So really looking at where those areas can be improved.
The public was asked to provide their own ideas for improving the waterfront image route. Many were wondering why a dedicated bike lane hasn't been included.
Greening up the Simpson Street, Water Street route, but I had assumed coming here today that I was going to be seeing potential protected bike lanes.
It's kind of curious that they haven't fit that in. There's recreation trails closer to the lake, but that's not the way to get to work. That's not the way to get back from shopping down at inner city, say, with cargo on your bike.
The waterfront image route vision won't be happening overnight. Consultants say some portions of the plan could take up to 20 years to implement, depending on when capital projects are planned. The Thunder Bay International Airport has had another record-breaking year for passenger traffic. The number of airport users increased by 2.4% last year to nearly 780,000 people. The airport sees around 110,000 flights per year, and around 75% of those are passenger flights. The airport has been making modifications to help cope with the increasing load. Some of those modifications include expanding the parking lot and increasing the size of the runway. Airport President Scott McFadden says there are a number of reasons why the passenger volumes have increased.
Very competitive airfares from a collection of very high quality airlines. I think that Thunder Bay is very fortunate from the perspective of the quality of air service that is available to our community. It's pretty difficult to justify the sort of additional time and risk of driving down the North Shore when we have such excellent connections directly out of here.
McFadden says the airport has also benefited from the new direct flights to Chicago by United Airlines, but the rising numbers may now be leveling out. McFadden is predicting that 2014 will not see a similar increase in passenger volumes. The town of Armstrong has been placed under a boil water advisory. The Thunder Bay District Health Unit issued the order following what's been described as a mechanical failure at the town's water treatment plant that may have compromised water quality. The health unit says the order will remain in place until it's confident the problem has been resolved. Well, organizers of this summer's Thunder Bay Golf Classic are continuing to receive support from the local community. The event this July will be the 6th stop of 12 on the PGA Canada Tour and marks the first professional golf tournament in the city since 2001. Organizers say they haven't even put out their marketing documents yet, and the tour has already landed 2 new sponsors. The Valhalla Inn will be the official hotel and will set aside an estimated 85% of their rooms for the tour. Meanwhile, the Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce has sponsored $12,000 towards the tour.
Everything on this tournament, I think, is important. Every little bit contributes to making it a successful event. So I think the backing, and I think everybody recognizes it's for a great cause, which is making awareness for the city and also supporting local charities. So I think there's no losers when it comes to supporting this event.
Organizers say the tour will have a big economic impact on the city. The Thunder Bay Golf Classic will take place July 14th to the 20th, the week before the RBC Canadian Open. And for the first time in nearly a decade, the Lakehead Thunderwolves hockey team will have hockey cards for fans to collect, just like any NHL team. It's part of a new partnership announced today with TBT and Thunder Bay Fire and Rescue. Not only are the cards going to be fun to collect, they also have an important safety message on the back alongside each player's statistics. The cards are a costly addition, which is why the team hasn't done them since the 2005 season. But thanks to a sponsorship from TBT and the firefighters, the cards are back and teaching youth to be careful around fire.
It's important to us that we partner with reputable and respected organizations in the community like TBT and the Lakehead Thunderwolves. The message we're trying to send with respect to fire safety is just that much more valuable, if you will, and taken that much more serious when we can build partnerships like the one we have here.
It's just a great program. We're excited. We're very fortunate to be able to launch cards. It's been since 2004, 2005. So
approximately 500 to 1,000 sets of cards are being produced. They'll be handed out in classrooms in minor hockey events starting January 19th, and they'll be available for fans at the Thunderwolves home game on February 15th at the Fort William Gardens.
Hockey cards, part of winter. No doubt about that. Also part of winter is snow. I got a prediction for you, Kasia. I say that the snow will stop by Canada Day. You say otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. We did have that beautiful snow globe kind of snowfall throughout the day, but that will taper off throughout the night. And that's because of that low pressure system we had hovering over our region today. As the air circulated this way, it pushed away that Arctic air away from us and down toward the southwest of us. So we did have warmer temperatures, but it did bring with it some precipitation, giving us a high today of -5, with the wind chill felt more like -13. And like I said, light snow throughout the day and pretty light winds coming in from the northeast, just between 8 to 10 kilometers an hour. But if you're outside for most of the day, it definitely felt a bit windier with that snow gusting right at your face throughout the day. Looking at the temperatures currently in the region, in Thunder Bay, we're sitting at -6. Over in Atikokan, -12. Fort Frances has a mix of rain and snow for most of the day, temperature of -13. Red Lake had cloudiness throughout the day, could see some rain later on, temperature of -16. And Sioux Lookout's got some scattered flurries throughout the day, could bring some heavy snowfall for them tonight, and a current temperature of -15. Over on the east side, Greenstone also had scattered flurries throughout the whole day, a temperature of -11, and Sault Ste. Marie had on and off periods of snow and temperature of -5. For tonight, like I said, the flurries are going to taper off, but the winds are going to pick up, gusting between 30 to 50 kilometers an hour, and that could bring some potential whiteout conditions. So heading out on the road, visibility is going to be really bad, so you're going to want to avoid any travel if you can. Otherwise, the low of -16 and clouds. For tomorrow, you can see we're going to get some cold temperatures coming in from the north with a wind chill of about -24 tomorrow morning. So you're definitely going to want to bundle up and give yourself some extra time warming up your car. But I'll have more details for you later on in the news hour.
Thanks, Kasia. Well, the Supreme Court of Canada will revisit the issue of assisted suicide. Details coming up next.
What this means is that seriously and incurably ill Canadians will have the opportunity to plead with the court to have their rights upheld.
A victory today for assisted suicide advocates. Canada's top court is revisiting the issue. The Supreme Court will hear an appeal in the case of Kate Carter and Gloria Taylor, who succeeded in briefly overturning the assisted suicide law in 2012. Taylor was terminally ill with ALS, and she died from a severe infection in October of 2012 before she could get help in ending her life. Earlier that year, she had led a successful court challenge of Canada's law against doctor-assisted suicide. But it was overturned when the federal government took the case to the BC Court of Appeal. The BC Civil Liberties Association is continuing her fight.
I'm relieved and very pleased that the Supreme Court of Canada has decided to hear this case. I mean, what this means is that seriously and incurably ill Canadians will have the opportunity to plead with the court to have their rights upheld and to have the option of a peaceful and a compassionate death.
The oil industry is continuing its efforts to refute music legend Neil Young's comments on the oil sands. Young has compared the development to the atomic bomb devastation in Japan. But Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers President Dave Collier says Young's statements are irresponsible and show a lack of understanding about the oil sands. Carolyn Dunn reports.
From Hank to Hendrix.
He's a musical icon on a mission, and Neil Young is making no apologies for it. His message against the Alberta oil sands and for the First Nations people who live near it.
It is the ugliest environmental disaster that I not only have ever seen, but that I could even comprehend.
After visiting the oil sands last summer, Young made headlines by comparing the environmental damage it has done to Hiroshima, a threat to wildlife and the health of the people of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation. Today, the oil patch fought back against Young's campaign.
His rhetoric is ill-informed, it's divisive, and I think it does a disservice to Canadians, including those First Nations that he's ostensibly trying to help through his tour.
The oil sands companies say their projects are pumping huge money into Aboriginal companies. Nearly $2 billion last year, $8 billion in the last decade and a half. In addition, they say they've invested heavily in local schools and other community projects and significantly improved their environmental record.
We want them to share in the benefits in the communities that we operate in. We take our responsibilities to these communities seriously.
Clearly expecting the industry pushback, the Neil Young campaign disputed that with a show of unity between First Nations leaders and a scientific expert, and Neil Young addressing his lack of expertise now under such scrutiny with a dose of humor.
And as far as me not knowing what I'm talking about, everybody knows that. That's not obvious. You know, I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. You know, I'm a musician.
We've been through some things together.
A musician working hard to draw attention to the oil sands. And today, the oil industry told Neil Young, game on. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
The agency responsible for airport screening in Canada says its staff made a mistake last September when they confiscated an explosive device from a passenger's bag but let the young man still get on a plane. The Canadian Air Transport Security Authority says staffers at Edmonton International Airport should have called police right away, not 4 days later. Skylar Murphy of Spruce Grove, Alberta, pleaded guilty last month to possession of an explosive substance. And as Terry Reith reports, the case has left many travelers in disbelief.
As new details emerge, so does the level of disbelief.
That's pretty scary. Shocking.
Well, obviously, I think there's some more training that needs to happen.
Court documents reveal the device was a fully functioning pipe bomb built by Skylar Murphy and a friend early last year. A device similar to this one that can carry quite a punch. They intended to blow up a shed. Instead, the bomb was left in Murphy's camera bag until it was found as he left for a family vacation in Mexico in September. The powder inside the bomb came from ammunition Murphy had stolen from his mother's fiancé, an Alberta provincial sheriff.
So I'd really like the Minister of Public Security to come clean with Canadians, to give us an explanation as to what happened and to reassure us that we're safe when we're flying in Canada.
In Ottawa, opposition leader Tom Mulcair wants to know more about what happened and why. Short of a brief statement by Transport Minister Lisa Raitt, the government has said little. CATSA, the federal agency responsible for airport screening, says it has reviewed the incident, taken steps to ensure it doesn't happen again, and disciplined officers. But CATSA staff in Edmonton tell CBC News there has been little fallout and no suspensions. Travelers can't believe it.
They'll go through and say, do you have like liquids and all of that? You want to make sure your toothpaste is in there because they make you throw that out, and they're consistent with that. But here, you can have the pipe bomb back.
In handing down a one-year suspended sentence, the judge said he believed Murphy meant no harm. Had he taken the bomb to Mexico, though, the judge said the now 19-year-old would be, quote, in jail learning Spanish if he survived. Terry Reith, CBC News, Edmonton.
Justin Trudeau admits he made some mistakes on travel expense claims from a speaking engagement 2 years ago. The Liberal leader says human error is to blame, and he's personally repaid the improper claim of $672.
As soon as we were alerted to that fact, I paid back personally that amount. We looked into it further to see if there had been any other issues around speaking engagements going back to my first election. We found a couple of per diems that were perhaps not properly claimed. I repaid those two as well.
There is outrage in Britain today as sketchy details begin to emerge around the treatment of an elderly man carrying a Canadian passport. The 84-year-old landed at a London airport last January and was placed into immigration custody. Less than 3 weeks later, he was dead. Nala Ayab reports.
When Canadian Alwad Dvorak landed at Gatwick Airport, he couldn't have known it would be his last stop. A year later, it still isn't clear how things could have gone so wrong. Canadian government officials confirmed 84-year-old Dvorak was only transiting through en route to Slovenia to visit his daughter. It's not clear, but somehow he ended up here, a privately run immigration detention center with a history of problems, including overcrowding. A surprise inspection last summer highlighted Dvorak's death as cause for significant concern. Their report includes doctor's notes describing Dvorak as frail, suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, and unfit for detention or deportation, that he required social care. Officials tried to deport him anyway. Days later, he died in hospital, possibly from heart failure. He'd been in handcuffs for 5 hours.
It might have been multiple.
The inspectors say officials clearly understood his condition.
Our view is that he was treated in a disproportionate and inhumane way, and in a way that didn't take account of his individual circumstances.
The firm in charge of the center said detainees aren't routinely handcuffed unless there was a proven risk of absconding or escape. Still, the immigration minister said it was completely unjustified and must not be repeated. Activists agree.
Remember, these are not criminals. You are entitled to a good quality degree of healthcare, and you're entitled to be treated like a human being, and that is not what is happening.
And tragically, it is not what Dvorak was offered. An investigation is underway to try to answer the many unanswered questions. Nala Ayab, CBC News, London.
The nominations for the 86th Annual Academy Awards were announced this morning. The Oscars will be handed out in Los Angeles on March 2nd. Eli Glasner has a look at the nominees.
The films selected as the Best Picture nominees for 2013 are...
It's the day Oscar hopes soar for some and fade for others. The outer space thriller Gravity gathered 10 nominations, including Sandra Bullock for her role as astronaut Ryan Stone. The 3D film pushed the limits of film technology and was rewarded in several technical categories, including visual effects. This morning in Montreal, many of the computer animation wizards who brought Gravity to life celebrated.
I think that the praise deserves to be shared with the whole team here at Framestore. I think there's a lot of people who worked on it, and unfortunately you can't put 440 names on the nominations.
Always take a favor over money. I think Jesus said that as well.
Returning to bask in Oscar glory is director David O. Russell with his film American Hustle. The late 70s caper film boogied its way to 10 nominations, including all 4 acting categories.
That's scripture.
Movies inspired by true stories also found Oscar's sweet spot this season. 12 Years a Slave, Wolf of Wall Street, Philomena, and Dallas Buyers Club all scored multiple nominations. It was a great morning for Canadian Jean-Marc Vallée, who directed the story about a down-and-dirty cowboy turned AIDS activist, Dallas Buyers Club, which earned Oscar nods for Matthew McConaughey, supporting actor Jared Leto, and Montreal editor Martin Pensa. Pensa was nominated with his co-editor John Mac Murphy, actually a pseudonym of Jean-Marc Vallée. And in the category of Best Original Score, the music of Arcade Fire's Will Butler and collaborator Owen Pallett earned a nomination for their work on the sci-fi love story, Her. The great Oscar race concludes March 2nd. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
We have a lot of movies to watch before March 2nd. Taking a look on the markets now, the TSX posted a 59-point gain, climbing to 13,831. The Dow fell almost 65 points to 16,417. and the Nasdaq edged up almost 4 points to 42.18. The dollar also posted a modest gain to close at 91.53 cents US. Gold inched up about $2 to $1,240 an ounce, and oil was relatively steady, closing at just under $94 a barrel. Well, the Winter Olympics just a couple weeks away, and some good news for Team Canada.
Yeah, Steven Stamkos is on the ice, which would be nice to see. So hopefully, he can get back into shape and he'll be part of Team Canada when the Olympics start in about 3 weeks. Well, Tampa Bay star Steven Stamkos did indeed take part in the Lightning's morning skate today as he recovers from surgery on a broken shin. He is, of course, a member of Canada's Olympic hockey team, pretty confident that he'll play next month at the Winter Games in Sochi, Russia. 11 games of the NHL tonight. Winnipeg is in Calgary. Can Paul Maurice make it 2 in a row? Montreal visits Ottawa. Minnesota entertains. We got Minnesota in action as well. And Vancouver will travel to Phoenix. That's Minnesota and Calgary. Off to Toronto we go now. 9 minutes in. Sabres blue liner Christian Ehrhoff coughs it up. Leafs capitalize. Phil Kessel snaps in goal number 22 past Ryan Miller. Buffalo takes the lead, though, 2-1 as Leaf killer Matt Molson, a native of Toronto, gets his 10th goal in 11 games at the ACC against his hometown team. Late in the second, Leafs regain the lead moments after Mason Raymond hits the post. Morgan O'Reilly with his second career goal, and it's 3-2. Early third, though, James Rummer has a habit of giving up some soft ones. Here's his latest, Cody Hodgson with the equalizer from a bad angle. This one will go to a shootout, and watch Tyler Bozak get enough of this shot that it will get over the line, and that'll win it. Toronto makes it 3 in a row, 4-3. And what a debut for Thunder Bay's Taylor Pyatt as he whips in an Oli Mata pass for his first goal as a Penguin. Pittsburgh holds off Washington 4-3, and the less said about it, the better if you're a Canucks fan. Anaheim blasted Vancouver 9-1. On the Lakehead varsity front, both basketball teams are at the Fieldhouse tomorrow night to begin a 2-game series with Western. The Lady Wolves are 6-6. The Stangs are 10-2. The LU men are 4-8, and so are the Mustangs. The volleyball team resumes conference play, taking a 3-7 record into Guelph Friday night for the first of two with the Griffins, and the 9th-ranked Thunderwolves hockey team takes on first-place Ryerson at the Gardens tomorrow night at 7:30. The Wolves are only a point back of the Rams. Now here's Ryan Benazzo with this week's player profile.
This Thunderwolves player profile is brought to you by Frankie's Pizzeria. Pickup or delivery.
Defenseman Andrew Tessier maybe hasn't seen the ice as often as he'd like during his first season with the Thunderwolves. But every shift, every practice, even every time he's inactive for a game, the Blind River, Ontario native is constantly striving to get better. He views every situation as a chance to learn and improve his game.
Well, I mean, I think when you look at our team in general, we got some of the best defense in the league, in my opinion. So for me this year, there's times where I might not play every night. I might not, even when I do get in, I might not see the ice as much as I want. But it's an opportunity for me to learn from these guys, and also from a coach like Coach McDonald. I mean, experience is all around me, so I just want to take in as much as I can.
So what exactly has he absorbed from playing with the veterans? A lot, says Tessier. Mainly, he's learned about positional hockey and how to anticipate plays during the course of a game.
A lot of these guys are a lot older than I am, and it's nice, like, they put a lot more thought into the game, like where to be at, when to be there, what to do once you're there. I don't know, just a lot of systems and a lot of heads-up plays.
Even away from the rink, Tessier actively seeks out knowledge. He's an avid reader, currently engrossed in the Game of Thrones series. And even the simple everyday task of reading a book, he says, can be applied to making him a better hockey player.
So I find when I'm reading, if I'm continuously reading my mind, I'm just sharper. Like I feel smarter away from the rink, at the rink. Like I just keeps me on my toes, I guess.
It remains to be seen whether Tessier is in the lineup this weekend when the Wolves clash with the Ryerson Rams, but he earned praise from Bill McDonald for his work on the road last week. Tessier is likely to carve out a key role for himself on the Lakehead Blue Line, if not this season, then in future years.
This Thunderwolves player profile was brought to you by Frankie's Pizzeria. Fresh is better.
Well, the biggest youth hockey tournament in northwestern Ontario is now underway at various rinks around the city. We're talking the 23rd annual Robins Minor Hockey Classic, featuring 152 teams this year and more than 2,000 players ranging in age from 4 years old all the way up to 17. The first games got underway about noon today. They'll continue all weekend with the championship games in each division wrapping up around 10 o'clock Sunday night. The tournament, hosted by the Port Arthur Minor Hockey Association, Robins Classic Chair Joe Rizzuto says they've got more local teams this year.
There isn't much happening in Thunder Bay, so bringing in 36 teams from out of town with an average of 15 kids per team is pretty good. They fill a lot of hotel rooms and restaurants. They're traveling from all northwestern Ontario, as far as Kapuskasing east and Dryden and Fort Francis west.
Tournament passes are available at all Robins locations and at the front gate of every arena. St. Ignatius won the high school wrestling meet yesterday at Superior. They finished 42 points ahead of St. Pat's in varsity boys basketball. St. Pat's moved into top spot after downing second place Churchill 74-47. While in varsity girls volleyball, St. Ignatius stayed unbeaten, sweeping Dennis Franklin Cromartie. And Canadian golfer Graham Dillette has a new sponsor. Rob Leth has the story.
You're going to be seeing a lot of Graham Dillette in 2014.
Graham is on the verge of becoming a superstar. I mean, he has all the skills and he has the kind of things that bring a lot of excitement to the game.
A perfect time to jump on board and enjoy the ride. On Wednesday, Shaw Communications announced a multi-year partnership with this country's top-ranked golfer.
It's exciting. I think it works out good for both parties involved. I mean, they're making a big impact now in golf, especially in Canada. You know, we're the home of majority of the PGA Tour events now. With their big sponsor now of the RBC Canadian Open.
And it fits well with our golf platform. We want to continue to grow it. It fits well with the 26 tournaments we're going to carry on Global this year, up until 2018 each year with the Masters and the President's Cup.
Ranked 39th in the world, Dillette had 7 top 10 finishes on the PGA Tour last year and was arguably the top player on the international team at his first President's Cup.
He's finished second now. He's finished in the top 5 a bunch of times. It's the point where you're just getting ready to put your foot in the accelerator and take it to the next level.
The main thing is getting in that position repetitively, and if you can be there over and over and over, you start to get used to it and get comfortable. And I feel like I'm getting there, and then the next step is finishing it off on a Sunday afternoon.
When it comes to being a celebrity endorser, it appears that Dillette is the perfect package.
And his willingness to give back to local charities, I think, is very important and fits well with Shaw. Him being the highest ranked player from Canada on the PGA Tour, I think a tremendous ambassador for golf in Canada and a tremendous supporter.
And it just kind of feels like we're all on the same page. It's a good Canadian brand, and we're proud to be part of it.
The best is yet to come.
Canada's Milos Raonic just threw it around 3 of the Australian Open tennis tournament. The 11th seed from Thornhill, Ontario, swept all 3 sets from Victor Hanescu, and now will face Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov. Vancouver's Vasek Pospisil has pulled out of the tournament with a back injury. NBA last night in Boston, Kyle Lowry stakes the Raptors into a 2-point lead after 1. He also set up the KG vet John Selmans for the Open 3. DeMar DeRozan led Toronto with 23 points. He had 10 in the first half as he gets the floater to fall. But Boston hung around as Brandon Bass finds a wide-open Gerald Wallace. He had back-to-back trays for the Celts, who led by 4 at the half. Avery Bradley, watch him at the fast break. He had 16 points in the first, ends up with 20 for the game. And then the basket of the night. What a sweet feed by Paul Pressey behind the back to Bradley for the bucket. The Celtics snap a 9-game losing streak, stunning the Raptors 88-83. Toronto's record 19-18. They host the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow night. And coming up Sunday, the Final Four of the NFL, as the conference finals will be played out. In Seattle Sunday night, the Seahawks can advance to the Super Bowl for a second time, should they get by visiting San Francisco.
I think this matchup is exactly what everybody's looking for, and it's an exciting one with a lot of background, and I'm grateful that it's coming from our division. I think our division really made a statement this year about how good we were, and a lot of losses came within the division. So when you look at it, this is a fantastic matchup with a great opportunity for both teams, and we're really thrilled about going for it, and love that it's coming home.
Well, obviously playing the San Francisco 49ers, they're a great football team. It's a team that is in the NFC West. It shows how good the NFC West has been over the past couple of years, and I think that it's going to be a great challenge for both teams, and it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a game where everybody knows each other, and everybody knows everybody's techniques, and so we just got to play great football and execute and be on time and make the plays when we need to make them.
And the AFC final should be a good one. Tom Brady against Peyton Manning, or New England against Denver, if you will.
All right, thanks. Tonight, there's a lot of comedy on TV. With your full viewing lineup, here's Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, starting at 8, Howie Mandel is up to his usual tricks on How We Do It. At 8:30 p.m. on The Millers, Carol thinks it's never too late to give Nathan the sex talk. At 9 on Sean Saves the World, Sean tries to take down the con artist who seduced his ex-wife. Then at 9:30 on The Michael J. Fox Show, Eve tries to be more edgy to attract the artistic type. And at 10 on Elementary, a famous mathematician is murdered in a room covered in formulas. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8, The Nature of Things tries to unmask centuries-old killers. Then at 9, To the Rescue follows those who risk their lives as part of search and rescue teams. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, throughout the week, we've seen different conditions through some below seasonal, some snow. Kasha, what are we going to see this weekend?
Well, this weekend's not going to be anything like last weekend. Last weekend we had warmer temperatures, some nice snowfall. But this weekend we're not going to get any precipitation and much colder temperatures. Nothing like today. Today we had a nice low high of -5. Some light snow throughout the day. Wind chill felt more like -13. And winds coming in from the northeast, gusting between 8 to 10 kilometers an hour. Looking at the current regions across the country right now, over in Vancouver, they had fog conditions for most of the day, and right now they're at +7. Prince George +2. Over in Alberta, they actually have a rainfall warning up in the northwestern area, which will taper off by midnight. Temperature-wise, though, Edmonton's sitting at 5, cloudy, and Calgary 7. Over in Saskatoon, they got -6, cloudy skies, and Regina -10. Over in Winnipeg, they've got -18, some just clear skies for them, and Churchill -22 with some cloud coverage. Over in southern Ontario, they're going to get a number of clipper systems heading towards them, coming in from the Yukon, bringing with it a lot of snow and flurries for them. By tonight, they should get an extra 1 to 3 centimeters of snow, and the first system is going to come for them tonight and in the next couple of days. Right now, though, they're at -2, some light flurries right now. Over in Ottawa, -2 as well, same with Quebec City. And over on the East Coast, they actually have a rainfall warning for most of the provinces. They're going to get around 25 millimeters of rain. Over in PEI, they're going to get some freezing rain, and over in Newfoundland, they're going to get some snow, around 25 to 30 centimeters. But temperature-wise, St. John's is at 5, Charlottetown is on the freezing mark, Fredericton +2, and Halifax +5. Looking at the weather system over in our region, you can see we had that precipitation for today. By tomorrow, it's shifting out of our region as well as into Saturday. You can see that warm front is just missing us, and like I said, no precipitation for this weekend. Looking at the region across the board for tonight, Atikokan will have -23, Dryden -26. Kenora will have periods of snow ending by midnight and a wind chill of -28. And over in Big Trout, they got -29 with a chance of flurries for tonight. Over in Greenstone, they have some light flurries throughout the night, -22, and Sault Ste. Marie -6, and snow flurries for them as well. Tomorrow, Greenstone's going to have a nice start to the day, mix of sun and cloud, -17. Sault Ste. Marie is going to continue to get those scattered flurries throughout the day, -2. And over on the west, Atikokan will be at -13. Kenora will have mainly sunny skies and -14. Sioux, Lookout, -16. Heading out right now at this hour, it is -5. Feels more like -9 though, so still much warmer than we've seen lately. Some light snowfall and winds coming in from the north, 8 kilometers an hour. For tonight, like I said earlier, the snow is going to taper off, but we're going to get much stronger winds, so it's going to reduce visibility and bring some possible whiteout conditions. And the winds are coming in from the north between 30 to 50 kilometers an hour and a low of -16. Heading out tomorrow, it's going to be a really cold start to the day, much colder than today. We're going to have a wind chill of about -24 once you head out around 8. But throughout the day, a mix of sun and cloud, and that temperature is going to stay steady throughout the day, with the winds coming in from the north-northwest around 13 kilometers an hour. Looking at the extended forecast, like I said, this weekend it's going to be a bit colder, but not too much. No precipitation. Looks like the precipitation is going to head back for us by Monday. We should get around 1 to 2 centimeters, and it's going to get really cold on Tuesday. So I guess we should enjoy the weekend for what we have now, and bundle up for the coming week. And there's your weather forecast.
It's time now to visit the Thunder Bay and District Humane Society shelter. This week, Fiona Gardner introduces us to a long-haired cat named Duchess.
Hi, this week's Humane Society Pet of the Week is Duchess, who is a very regal and beautiful lady who's a little nervous today. She is a 1-year-old domestic long hair, and she was brought to the Humane Society by her owner. She's very friendly and very curious, and as you can hear, a little bit vocal, but she is a beautiful girl who would do well in any home, even one with small children, because she's very gentle and very delicate, and with beautiful beautiful markings as well. So if you'd like to come and make the Duchess's acquaintance, drop by the Humane Society.
Your Pet of the Week has been brought to you by Thunder Pet. Expert advice and high-quality pet food within your budget.
Well, almost everyone you know probably has a Facebook account, but lately, apparently, Facebook isn't so cool. We'll explain coming up after the break. If you think you can keep tabs on your children by using Facebook, think again. New data suggests the site is tanking with teens. A recent study says young people are logging off the social network in droves, as many as 11 million in the past 3 years. A separate study found that teens are turning away from the site because of friends who overshare, and they're worried that their parents are watching what they're up to. Instead, young people are increasingly turning to newer apps to meet their social networking needs. And only a few years ago, Facebook was the cool and hip thing to do.
Yeah, you can see that coming, though.
Yeah, true. We're going to recap our top story. Well, talks are underway between the city and the Amalgamated Transit Unit. They're trying to reach a deal before Monday morning. If a deal is not reached, you could see city buses no longer around the city.
And we'll have a preview of the LU Thunderwolves hockey team as they get ready for a big first place OUA West showdown at the Gardens against the Ryerson Rams.
And tonight, the light snowfall should end by midnight, but tomorrow will be very cold, about -24 with the wind chill. So you're going to want to bundle up, take extra time to warm up your car, and take it easy on the roads.
And that's your early look at news, weather, and sports. For more information, you can log on to tvnewswatch.com. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Good night.